to talk about something. How individually we are great, but collectively we are even greater. Reminds me of a quote where no man is an island, and it's true. Don't get me wrong, I love having my me time and to reflect and to integrate and to sit deep with the things. And I'm the type of person that will go from one thing to another and understand how they're all connected to each other, right? Because God created everything. Everything is his creation, so therefore everything is connected. I'll sit with things like that. And there are times I may isolate. There are times I may take more time than needed. But eventually when I come back out, I want to converse, to share, get people's point of view, see what people think about the things I've dug into. I believe that's where the individual connects to the collective, is share not only the successes and not only the things you're proud of, but also the realization, the aha moments. Because I've realized sometimes people are afraid of speaking, and I used to be one of those people. And the reason being is I didn't want to be seen. It's so much easier to be in the background. It's so much easier to be the observer. The retention of information isn't serving anyone. So whether it's stupid or not stupid, or people are going to understand it or not understand it, or you're going to be judged for it, or it's going to sound woo, whatever the case may be, there is someone that wants to hear it. Again, it's not for everyone. And I guess with discernment, people find out who their people are. A couple of group of friends where you get into the nitty-gritty. They scratch your brain, and it doesn't feel like it's a threat, and it doesn't feel like you're going to get shamed. It doesn't feel like you can't be seen. I didn't know that until I put myself out there and discussed these things. Sat with a friend and was like, really, this is what's on my mind right now. And I know it sounds crazy, but let's talk about our religion, for example. I don't know everything about it, but I'd love to hear from you and what you know. Again, because I believe everything is connected. So whether I understand Arabic Fusha, which is like the original Arabic, is not the Arabic we speak. How about you help me translate? Or how about you like rephrase it for me so I can understand? And that leads me to another point. Sometimes we don't always have the words. And I know that very well, because when I'm in Lebanon, I go to supermarkets and my dad says, don't speak in English because it'll jack the prices. And so when I speak in Arabic, they look at me and they say in Arabic, where are you from? And I'm like, from Lebanon. And they're like, no. Where are you from? Because even my Arabic has an American accent to it. And even the words I use can literally tell geographically where I'm from. And I've always found it so interesting that the way you speak is such a big identifier. In the same breath, if we don't speak on the things that are inside us, that's the only place it's staying. Whether you believe it or not, there are a lot of things that you constantly dwell on and think about and ruminate inside that are waiting for someone to open that door. Even if it's not a collective discussion. I've had so many people reach out to me by text or phone call and be like, that thing that you were talking about, or I can only speak to you about this. And again, I don't say any of this to say, oh, I'm special. I'm not special. I do believe that there are people that are just standing behind that door afraid to walk through it because they don't know what's on the other side. And that's also not to say that what was on the other side of my door is going to be the same. It's not. But the idea is they feel seen. They're not alone. And which brings me to the other thought. It took everything in me to post that podcast. I kept on going back and forth about whether I wanted to actually put this bil wujud, which is the presence of something. It's been sitting inside of me years. There's a lot of it that I had already come to realization a long time ago. I knew what the feeling was. I knew what the words were to it. I knew what it meant to put it out there because I had so many people have these discussions with me. Talking is important. Communicating, conversing, having someone that you feel safe in their presence is important. And so I went back and forth on, do I want to post this? And is this going to be the first one I'm going to post about? And what if my dad sees it? How's that going to sit with my parents? How's it going to sit with people who think it's about them? And then I looked at myself. This is my truth. And the ultimate vibration in life is truth, is love. I'm going to give you an example. Ancient Egypt, the Mat, they used to weigh a heart against a feather. If the heart was heavier than the feather, you wouldn't continue on to the underworld afterlife, so to speak. Or at least that's how I understand it. And why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning it to bring it to a point that having a heavy heart doesn't mean only the sins we're aware of. Having a heavy heart means not being honest with people or being honest with yourself. which leads me into your truth does not have to be everyone else's truth. Your truth also doesn't have to be accepted by everyone. That's fine. Everyone has their own truth. I am not saying this truth is the ultimate truth. No, God is the ultimate truth. But what I'm saying is your truth is just as important to be discussed, not enforced, not pushed upon, but given wujud, given a presence for it to be out in the light. Because everything I discussed in that video was weighing really, really heavy on me. And I know that I didn't get to say how much I appreciate the support of my parents at that time, or the support of being able to come back from Lebanon and speak to my husband about it, and coming to these realizations of, now I know what it is, and I know what I've been feeling this whole time. There wasn't anything wrong with my body. There wasn't anything wrong with me not having the words for it. I think just the pain was way too much to even sit with it. 15 years later, my emotions were very raw and real, which tells you that it does not matter how much time passes. If something isn't released, it will sit, and not just sit in the emotional realm of your world. It'll sit in your body. And I know very well what that looks like, to have something sit in your body, because I work with bodies. These are things that come up all the time. At least for me, once I become conscious of something, it is very hard, and I know I'm not the only one. It becomes very hard to pretend like you don't know. Like, oh, I'm just gonna go back to living how I used to and pretend like everything is a-okay. That when my intuition pings, or when something feels uneasy, or when someone says something that hurts, that brings up older memories, oh, that's fine. No, it's not fine, because I've come to a level of awareness where I am aware of what this is. I am aware of the heaviness this holds, and I am aware of the consequences of that scenario. And so no, I can't go back to living how I was living, or how I was thinking, or how I reacted even. So in that moment, there is a level of accountability that's taken, that if this pattern is going to continue, I mean, if I allow it to continue, it will continue. But do I want it to continue? Like, I understand it was never about me. I understand it was a lesson. I understand what the lesson taught me. I was so far out of my body, afraid of sitting with what that disappointment looked like. And where was that disappointment even coming from? Was it really coming from me being disappointed? Because I was so proud of myself for giving birth naturally with no meds to a beautiful, healthy daughter who came out in like an hour and a half, who I didn't feel any contractions with at all, who was such a pleasant, beautiful ray of sunlight of a child. That why do I always go back to the darker parts of that? Why is childbirth, why does it hit so hard in such a sad and lonely way? And I realized all that I was holding inside, overriding any sort of joyous moments that were there. And I know I said that there wasn't really much of a community, but I did have one really great friend. I would be at her place every day. I didn't necessarily communicate about what I was feeling. It was great distraction. I learned so much, and I will forever be grateful for all that she brought into my life. There was still loneliness, I'm not gonna lie. All of that to say, individual work is really important, but if it's not brought out and given a wujud, a presence, it's not really in the collective. And for me at least, acts of service is how that comes into fruition. Touched on that a little when I had my previous video. That is why I'm there for my friends. That is why I play with the kids and I take a load off their hands, and I'm present and I'm hands on deck when situations arise. And I don't do it out of lack. I do it out of genuine love for my community. So for me, acts of service are being there. It's one of the many acts of service I have, being for the collective. But that starts with being there for myself. And I just thought it was very much a full circle moment. I'm moving forth in a way where I'm allowing my heart to shine and not be afraid of the vulnerability, and not be afraid of being silly, being too much. You're a 41-year-old white. That's not what you're supposed to do. My age identifies the year I was born. Great. Also identifies all the experience I've been through. Also great. At the end of the day, when I put my head down on the pillow and I pray to God and I connect with God, my answers lie inside of myself. My answers are present when something crosses my mind, and intuitively I know that that is not a right thought, or a feeling passes and I know that that's not a right feeling to have. I don't go, no, I'm not allowed to feel that. No, Why do I feel anger towards this person? Why? Because it's not about the person. The person's a mirror. And so what is it triggering inside of me that I really need to look at? That's how the work gets started. That's how the work is done. I will say, through the work that I've done and continue to do, I've been able to be there for my community in ways I didn't think were possible. I didn't think I had it in me. I didn't think I'd move forward. I thought I'd always be the one observer in the background, knowing all this and seeing all this, but really doing nothing with it, because who are you? I am a child of God. I am a creation of the Creator. I hold God with me everywhere I go. And that's how I'll continue to live my life. And I will continue to fall and get up and learn, but there's nothing to fear. When I incarnated in this lifetime, I knew what I was taking on. My individual karma, my ancestral karma, I knew what I was taking on then too, and I decided to say yes. I'm a firm believer that I made a contract. This is my contract. I said yes. I knew what I was coming into, and I knew the lessons that I needed to learn. And the longer I push that away, the longer I'm not honest with myself, and my heart will remain heavy against the feather. And it's not because I lie to people. It's because a lot of times I'm not honest with myself. My pondering thoughts and realizations, all with love. For anyone who hears this, and anyone who's going through it, or anyone who's past it, or wherever you are in the journey, I appreciate you.